What's up, soccer fans? Week 9 MLS Betting Picks and Predictions coming right at you. We went 50% last week. We hit 7, we lost 7. But in MLS, when you're playing all 3 options, that's a hell of a week. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll get right into the picks right after the intro. All right, soccer fans, how we feeling after that week last week? Decent week, not great, but hey, anytime you're hitting 50% is good in my book. All right, hit that like button down below. Hit that subscribe button if you're new here. If you're already subscribed, thank you, and let me know your picks in the chat, in the comments below. Let's get right into the games. First one up is Houston against Austin FC in a Battle of Texas. Hey, look, we're not going to talk about the CCL final. There will be a CCL final first leg that'll be played on Wednesday between Pumas and Seattle, which we'll be live for. But we're not talking about that game. That is reserved strictly for the all-star members of the channel who get my one exclusive video per week. So let's get right into Houston and Austin. Houston coming off a loss there in the other Texas Derby. But they're playing Austin at home. So Austin is a much better team in Austin than they are on the road. This is a tough one to pick, though. I think Austin is a little bit more talent than Houston right now. So I'm going to go with the draw in this game. The odds come in as Houston at plus 130, Austin at plus 205, and the draw at plus 245. I'm taking them to split the points. Plus 245 on the draw for Houston, and Austin is my pick. Next up, Toronto FC goes to visit Cincinnati. Actually, no, Cincinnati's visiting Toronto. It's at BMO Field. Cincinnati coming off a better performance against LAFC last week, but still not good enough. And Toronto FC, they battled against New York City in New York, not at Yankee Stadium. It was at Citi Field this time. But TFC went up 2-0. Then they got bombarded. The defense looked bad. And then they were able to claw their way back to a 5-4 loss and almost had a chance to tie the game at the end of the game. So TFC battles. They're resilient. I expect them to play well against Cincinnati. The odds are TFC minus 115, the draw at plus 280, and Cincinnati at plus 285. I got to go with Toronto FC here to get the victory against Cincinnati, especially with Cincy coming off a loss. Cincy's getting better, but they're just not quite there yet. All right, next up, we've got Real Salt Lake hosting LA Galaxy. The Galaxy coming off a big victory over Nashville last week. RSL, not much to talk about from their game last week in the 0-0 draw against Portland. RSL comes into this one as slight favorites, plus 150 odds. The draw at plus 240 and the Galaxy at plus 180. I expect the Galaxy to go on the road and get a victory. RSL has not looked good since they got beat down by New York City after they made fun of their championship banner, which everybody does. But ever since that game, they haven't looked the same, even getting knocked out of the U.S. Open Cup in the first round by Northern Colorado. So LA Galaxy on the road, I think they build off that victory against Nashville last week. I'm picking the Galaxy plus 180 odds to get it done. All right, next up, we've got Montreal against Atlanta United. Montreal not in the best form right now. Either is Atlanta. Atlanta has some serious issues on the road. Montreal comes into this game as favorites plus 120, the draw at plus 255, and Atlanta at plus 220. I'm sorry, Atlanta United fans, I can't pick you right now. I cannot pick Atlanta to win games. They're not showing it, especially on the road. They are a completely different team at the Benz than they are on the road, and they haven't even looked great at the Benz as of recently with that draw with Cincinnati 0-0. So I'm going Montreal in this game. I've got the Impact, CF Montreal, the Snowflakes, whatever you want to call them. I'm going Montreal in that game at plus 120 odds. All right, guys, check out our memberships down below. I talked to you guys earlier about the CCL final. I'll be giving my picks in that game directly in my All-Star video. Check them out. The membership promo, $9.99 a month for our all-star level. You're a sports bettor. You're watching this video. You want to get a leg up in the competition. You join today and make some money. We hit our parlay last week, pulled a cool $57 off of a $10 bet last week, picking Austin, LAFC, and New York City as the three-team parlay. What's this week's parlay? Find out. Join today. $9.99 a month. It's well worth it. Now, if that's not your cup of tea, we've got the designated player option as well and the first team starter option. Join the best community in CONCACAF right now, ladies and gentlemen. All right, back to the picks and predictions. Let's go into Columbus versus DC United. Columbus has not looked great lately. DC United hasn't looked good either. They did at least last week, I believe, let me double check it here. DC did pull back a W at home against New England Revolution. And Columbus got a draw on the road. Not horrible, but neither one of these teams is lighting the place on fire right now. DC, a lot of talk in training that they're very unhappy Losada got let go as quickly as he did. So this is a tough one to pick. The odds in this one, the Crew come in at minus 185 at home. The draw is plus 295 and DC United at plus 600. Well, I got to go with the Crew. Those odds are just too high with DC. I don't believe in them enough to go with them at a plus 600 clip. So I'm going with Columbus to get the win at home and start to bounce back, get a few good results under their belt at lower.com field for Columbus Crew. So that's my pick in that one. Next up, the Revs against Inter Miami. The Revs coming off that loss to DC. Miami, well, they came off a win against Atlanta United in Miami/Fort Lauderdale, however you want to break it down. This one, the Revs come in at minus 180. The draw is at plus 340 and Inter Miami at plus 450. Part of me wants to flirt with Miami, but with the fact that New England got the win last week, well, no, they did not get the win. They got the loss against DC at DC. They're going back home. If this game was in Miami, I would go Miami, but I just don't feel comfortable picking Miami here. They are on a bit of a run. They did beat Atlanta. They did beat Seattle's Kids, and that kind of built that team up with Neville, kind of gave them a little bit something exciting to go for. Campagna is just drilling goals left and right, but I think New England, I think they're gonna just show enough to pull out the draw at home. My pick is the draw in that matchup at plus 340. I could be wrong. Maybe Miami's rolling a little bit, but I'm going with the draw in this matchup between Revolution and Miami. Orlando City against Charlotte FC. Charlotte coming off that 0-0 draw against Colorado last week. Orlando, on the other hand, they got beat down at home. Beat down by the Red Bulls 3-0. A very surprising result there for Orlando City at home. This one, the odds come in at Orlando minus 150, the draw at plus 275, and Charlotte at plus 450. Charlotte looks okay. They're not as bad as everybody thought they were going to be. But Orlando, the only thing holding me back from picking a draw or Charlotte in this one is the fact that Orlando, they're not going to get beat down 2 weeks in a row at home at Exploria Stadium. I don't see them losing to Charlotte here. I think they bounce back from last week. My pick, Orlando City at minus 150 to get the job done. Next, we've got Chicago Fire against the Red Bulls of New York. Red Bulls, of course, like I just mentioned, 3-0 victory over Orlando. And Chicago was on the other side of a 3-0 result. They lost 3-0 to Minnesota last week. Could not control in that game. It was all Minnesota, especially in the second half. First half started, it was a little bit even right in the beginning, but then it turned to Minnesota, and they never looked back. The odds in this one, the Fire come in at plus 150 at home. The Red Bulls at plus 190, and the draw at plus 225. SONMINEA gave up 3 goals. I don't see him giving up 3 goals again. Shaqiri is back. I'm going with the draw in this matchup. My pick, the draw at plus 225 between Chicago Fire and the New York Red Bulls. Next up, Sporting Kansas City against FC Dallas. This one probably isn't going to be the most exciting game in the world to watch. But again, who knows? They might just, make fun of me and it'll be a thriller, right? Who knows? Sporting Kansas City comes in at plus 130 at home. Dallas comes in at plus 215 and the draw at plus 230. Sporting Kansas City has looked like a shell of their former selves. They are not playing well right now. Dallas has definitely improved on last season. They're looking a bit better, but they're not quite where they want to be yet. I look at the draw in this matchup just because Sporting Kansas City's at home, and you usually see that kind of result for SKC. When they're at home, they usually play better, but I think Dallas is going to go in and make a statement against Sporting Kansas City. My pick is Dallas to get it done. I'm saying Dallas makes it happen and getting the victory on the road, plus 215 odds. All right, next up, we've got Colorado against Portland. Colorado, they came off the 0-0 draw at home against Charlotte. Portland 0-0 at home against RSL. Well, I don't expect to see much out of this game, but Portland comes in at plus 350 odds, Rapids at minus 125, and the draw at plus 265. Man, I love the Timbers when they're on the road and they're getting plus 350. That is something they just always seem to come through for me. So I'm doing it again. Portland, let's go after it one more time. Let's get the victory. I'm taking Portland plus 350 over a struggling Colorado Rapids side. Next up, New York City and San Jose Earthquakes, NYCFC with a resounding 5-4 victory over Toronto FC. San Jose with a huge comeback victory last week over Seattle. They were down 3-1, figured it was done, it was over, but San Jose are the comeback kids. They've done it earlier in the season to get back to be a draw twice. They were down by multiple goals, ended up pulling the draw. This time they came back and they won. But they're running into a buzzsaw in New York City. New York comes in at minus 225 odds, draw at plus 370, and the Earthquakes at plus 550. Don't count the Quakes out, even though they haven't played great. Matias Almeida's gone. They got that new coach bounce. They beat the Sounders kids last week. But I don't think they're going to be able to beat New York City, who is just on a tear right now. My pick, New York City FC to get the victory at minus 225 odds. All right, next up, the game that we will be live for, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be live for this one. Make sure you are hanging out with us on the weekend. Nashville opens up their beautiful brand new stadium, Geodis. I don't even know what to call it, but their brand new stadium in Nashville. They're opening it up. They're done being on the road. They're taking on the Philadelphia Union. Make sure you're subscribed with that bell so you know when we go live, and come hang out and talk soccer with Sons of a Pitch Soccer Central and all of our amazing, awesome fans in the chat. All right, Nashville, Philly. Who do you got? My pick, Nashville comes in at plus 120 odds. Draw is plus 225. Philadelphia plus 245. Philly has not impressed me lately. They're a good team. They lost to Toronto FC. They drew against Montreal last week. Nashville is going home. They just went through a huge run on the road. They've got a brand new park they're opening up. Will the pressure be too much for them? I don't think so. Nashville, my pick, plus 120. They get it done, opening up that brand new stadium with a beautiful, beautiful 3 points at home against the Philadelphia Union on plus 120 odds. All right, last game of the week. And a reminder, I always put my spreadsheet up for you guys to screenshot, take it to the bank. The last game of the week, LAFC against Minnesota United. LAFC comes in at minus 195 at the Bank of California. Draw comes in at plus 330. Minnesota at plus 500. Minnesota's decent. They just showed up against a decent Chicago team. LA did not look their best against Cincinnati last week. So this is one you might want to look at, throwing a few bucks on Minnesota to go in and pull an MLS, go to MLS kind of game, right? So Minnesota plus 500, I might flirt with throwing a few dollars on it. But my pick, you got to go with the hot hand. LAFC, they're hot. Minus 195, they're at the top of the league. They're probably the best team in the league. Possibly by talent. They're close. So I got to go LAFC there and get the victory on that one. LAFC is my pick. All right, so there's all my picks. I'm going to put my spreadsheets up here momentarily. Thanks for hanging out with me. Good luck with your bets this weekend. Make sure you join us for the Pumas and Seattle Sounders live stream reaction Wednesday night. It's going to be a lot of fun. The first leg of the CCL final, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go. We'll be live for it, so make sure you're here. 9:30 Central Standard Time is the matchup there, and if you're not an All-Star member yet, get on it. Join our All-Star team so that you can get access to who I'm picking and who I'll be betting on in that matchup. All right, guys, we'll see you guys real soon. Good luck with your bets. Peace.